You've been friends for a while. The conversation is easy, you actually like spending time with her, and somewhere along the way you started wanting more than friendship. But you have no idea how to shift the dynamic without risking the whole thing collapsing. This is one of the trickiest transitions there is, and most guys either force it too hard or never attempt it at all. Today, how to actually navigate it. Let's get into it. First, be honest with yourself about why the friendship has stayed platonic. Sometimes it's genuinely because neither person has shown romantic signals yet. Sometimes it's because you've been so firmly positioned as the safe, non-threatening friend that she's never had a reason to see you any other way. Knowing which one you're dealing with changes everything about how you approach shifting things. Second, stop overcompensating with friendliness as a substitute for actual interest signals. A lot of guys in this position double down on being the best possible friend, hoping that effort eventually gets noticed and rewarded romantically. It almost never works that way. Friendship effort reads as friendship effort, not as romantic interest, no matter how much of it you put in. If you want the dynamic to shift, the signals actually need to shift too. Third, introduce small moments of flirtation gradually, instead of a single dramatic confession. A sudden, "I've always liked you," out of nowhere, often feels jarring, precisely because the friendship never included any smaller signals leading up to it. Start subtle, a slightly longer look, a lighter tease that has a little more edge to it than your usual friendly banter, a compliment that's a notch more personal than what you'd normally say. Let the dynamic shift incrementally so it doesn't feel like a sudden left turn. Fourth, create moments outside the group context you're used to. If your entire friendship exists within a group setting, friends, mutual activities, shared spaces, there's rarely a natural opening for anything to shift, because the group dynamic reinforces the platonic frame every time you're together. A one-on-one setting, even something low pressure like grabbing coffee just the two of you, changes the context enough for new dynamics to actually have room to emerge. Fifth, pay close attention to how she responds to the early signals before escalating further. If the light flirtation lands well, she reciprocates, leans in, teases back with a similar energy, that's a green light to continue building. If it consistently falls flat, or she visibly redirects back to a purely platonic tone, that's real information, not something to push past. Respecting that response is what keeps the friendship intact, even if the romantic shift doesn't happen. Sixth, accept up front that there's real risk here, and that's unavoidable, not a sign you're doing it wrong. Any shift from friendship to something more carries a chance the friendship changes permanently, even if handled well. Pretending there's a risk-free way to do this sets you up for disappointment. The goal isn't eliminating risk, it's handling the process with enough care that whatever happens, you can look back and know you approached it honestly instead of manipulatively or recklessly. Seventh, if it doesn't shift, give yourself actual space afterward instead of forcing the friendship back to normal immediately. Trying to pretend nothing happened right away usually creates more awkwardness than a little natural distance would. It's okay for things to feel slightly different for a while. That's not failure. That's just what happens when a relationship attempts to change shape and settles back into its previous one. So here's the full picture. Understand why it stayed platonic before trying to shift it. Stop substituting excessive friendliness for actual romantic signals. Escalate gradually instead of forcing one big moment. Create low-pressure one-on-one contexts where new dynamics have room to breathe. Pay attention to how early signals land before pushing further. Accept the real risk involved instead of looking for a risk-free version that doesn't exist. And if it doesn't work, allow natural space instead of forcing everything back immediately. Handled with patience and honesty, this transition is possible far more often than most guys assume, but it does require actually shifting the signals, not just hoping the friendship eventually earns its way there. Peace.